Ladies, gentlemen, genders of all identities, and folks of all ages, welcome to round 2 of the Gold Sword bracket in the Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament. I am Laoria, and I'm joined in the booth by SEJay. How's it going?
It's going great. I am really excited for this.
I definitely am too. We have quite the matchup for our fans in the chat today. I believe a rematch of week 3 of the Swiss brackets. Floyd, who is number 2 seed in the gold bracket, versus Kaesden, number 7 seed, mentored by ApathyDuck and Shareen, respectively.
Yeah, these two faced off in week 3. Floyd won that match, giving Kaesden his only loss. Both runners 5-1, both runners in the gold bracket. Both runners a lot of improvement throughout this, and really, really excited to see the level of execution that they're going to show us here tonight.
Absolutely, and it looks like we are off with our standard start. So seeing as this is standard, we are going to get the joy of seeing what Uncle has right from the beginning. And no matter what, we already have a cane of Samaria.
Yeah, and that's really nice because you can grab those 2 small magics by the Uncle chest, and you're able to use that right off the bat. This is standard, so any weapon is available. We could find bombs, we could find a fire rod, we could find a bow. We could find a sword. Anything is up in the air in standard.
This is true. Kaesden also giving us our first map check. I saw a red crystal, I believe, at Eastern, and the green pendant on Desert Palace.
Yeah, we're going to get a hammer to do escape. That's a pretty nice set of items to have early on. You know, finding that red cane early, not only is it a good weapon here, but red cane is used for a lot of the minor glitches and later dungeons in the vanilla games, so finding that early could make it pretty quick to go through some of those later dungeons.
This is true, and earlier today I actually asked both of the runners what their favorite item to find on Uncle is in standard, and Floyd mentioned that hammer was actually his favorite, and hilariously enough, Kaesden mentioned that the cane of Samaria was his least favorite, not because it's hard, but literally because it's boring.
Yeah, I'm preferential to hammer and fire rod, and then probably bow. The hammer and fire rod are both really nice because they one-shot all of the enemies down here. Fire rod is nice for the sewers, while hammer is easier to use for the guards here.
Does it make me weird that I actually don't mind bombs, especially just after practicing it and realizing, oh, this isn't that bad?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are scared of bombs when they first get into standard, just because there is a significant amount of practice you kind of have to put into that to know where to place the bombs. But I don't mind bombs. At this point, any weapon, you only have to kill a couple of guards. It's not that bad.
This is true, and we see them with this hammer. They are making quick work of these guards and escape. Forgot to mention, but they managed to find the lamp in Uncle's tunnel and Bombos here at the second key guard. So we are getting lots of items here right from the get-go.
Yeah, that Bombos won't be usable until we find a sword, but very nice item to have early. We're kind of looking like, I don't know, you get red cane, you get Bombos, you get hammer. How early do you want to check out Ice Palace?
In before flippers here in Zelda's chest?
Yeah, we still need Titan's mitts and boots and all that, but my mind starts wandering, you know, as soon as you start to see these early items. The game is giving you all of these to complete the seed. It has to give you the items you need to finish. And those are 3 kind of unique items that do lock specific dungeons. So we'll have to see kind of how it plays out and where we find our Moon Pearl and our gloves and things like that. But it's got me thinking.
You know, another thought with that also is if we find, mitts, but instead of finding the flippers, we happen to find the flute, that could also mean Myers in play.
Yeah, for sure. We do see both of them leaving at about the same time. They are neck and neck through this escape. Very good execution by both of them. Both of them leaving the basement area right around 3:42. Good times. An ideal escape to do the whole sequence is 6 minutes or less. We'll see if they get there, but we'll move on to the basement, and that's where things get a little bit trickier because the snakes are not as easy to kill with the hammer, so we'll see how these guys execute.
This is true, and I'll be honest, I haven't been paying very much attention to the guard drops, but you know both of them are going to also be hoping to find bombs along the way to go ahead and knock out back of escape while they're down here.
Yeah, that's a big thing to remember is if one of these runners finds a bomb, that could be really big because you want to blow open that wall in the back of escape the first time you're down here. You don't want to have to wait till gloves or worst case scenario, have to walk back through escape to do this again. So we'll see. We got a chest coming up here that could have bombs or boots in it, and it looks like both runners opting just to skip all the snakes. I wonder if we did see a drop that both the mentors know it's not worth it.
Let's see, we did see on Kaesden side there a heart drop from a snake, and with guards having some, I'm pretty sure hearts earlier, I don't think we're gonna really see it. With that small magic drop on the rat earlier, it's possible that you could have a single bomb drop, I believe, later on, but it's gonna be way down in the prize pack.
Yeah, really nicely done. If you haven't ever seen that strategy, it's a good one to know how to do. Go into that top right corner and place a Samaria block down. You could kill a significant amount of rats over there. And it does look like Floyd is taking time to try to kill more of the rats, as is Kaesden. Not having a lot of luck, though, with drops right now.
Let's see, it looks like Kaesden is going to opt out, but Floyd did manage to get that one bomb drop, so Kaesden will have to potentially come back here later, and he'll definitely have to because there's our Moon Pearl and a sword.
A sword. Oh my goodness, this is huge. So unfortunately, Kaesden now getting that bomb drop, but you cannot go back down to the Sanctuary basement once you leave it. So, and on half a heart, barely gets through at a 608. That's not terrible timing considering that they were farming for bombs there at the end. Yeah, Floyd getting a really, really nice drop from those rats, and that could be a really big point early on in the seed, depending on if we find gloves or not.
This is true. If you're Kaesden at this point, you're hoping that you find that glove relatively quickly, possibly here in Kakariko, so you can just go straight back down there. It looks like Kaesden is opting not to check Lumberjack Ledge at the moment, heading just straight to the forest, which, you know, I personally am a fan of checking Lumberjack Ledge on the way to the forest and then swinging back down, but I know plenty of people, you know, just decide to pull this tree here in the forest and avoid Lumberjack until you have more Aga items.
And Floyd doing a very uncommon play here. Gonna go right to Houlihan to grab a bunch of rupees down here. That will give Zora money or vendor money. They found a 300 drop. As we find the gloves on Kaesden's side, that's really good to find. But finding those 300 rupees, it's interesting that they're opting to do this instead of just checking to see if Kakariko has money as well, because this is pretty slow if the village has another 300 rupee drop.
This is true, and it looks like Kaesden, upon finding those gloves, saved and quit immediately to Sanctuary. He's going to go straight to the back of Escape now that he has it. He will have to get bombs again to be able to do Kakariko, but this is going to help him catch up real quick, so this is an excellent call by him and Shareen.
Now, what an interesting route by Floyd, going straight down to the dam. It'll be interesting if he goes over to Agina. I don't know if they're looking for bombs before they go to Kakariko, and so they opted to say, let's just get money, we'll need money anyway. We'll have to see if this pays off, because this is a very unconventional route. If there's something big over in the direction that Floyd is heading, that could really, really swing things by a minute or so here early on. And it looks like Kaesden is also going to head a little unconventional and go over to Eastern.
Yeah, this is definitely some interesting choices by both of our runners. Floyd, after, you know, taking care of the dam, opting out completely, you know, doesn't have any bombs. Kaesden's going ahead and buying some. Just instead, well, you know what? Since he didn't find any bombs, he wouldn't be able to do Agina's Cave or Mini Moldorm at that point. So just having to opt out.
Yeah, if you're going to do this route where you start unconventionally. I do like Kaesden's route here. Going over to that shop, that's a shop a lot of newer players don't know about. But you can buy 10 bombs there, and so now Kaesden is going to follow right behind Floyd. Floyd's going into the woods, which Kaesden has done, going to find his glove. Kaesden is going to do this and have bombs to go over to Mini Moldorm. It makes me wonder, these runners have faced off before. They're maybe trying to find an edge of, we're not going to stick to the norm here. We got to take some gambles, and this is our first gamble of the game.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly the thought here. But I agree that I do prefer the choice by Kaesden to go ahead and go and buy those bombs, because then you can clear out Mini Moldorm from down here, especially with a sword, the hammer. You're not going to have to use bomb strats to really go, to Murder Town on the Mini Moldorms. But you're going to get 5 extra checks from it.
It does look like Kaesden is going over to Mini Moldorm Cave as Floyd is going to go down to the village. It's just very interesting. That start of getting all that money from Houlihan and you find the gloves, you would think Floyd would be maybe going straight over to Zora or doing South Shore to get the fake flipper checks in there. It's interesting that they took that route and spent that time getting the money and are now just doing the normal route.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little bit different, but it may be one of those things where he's hoping he's gonna find bombs here in CAC. Chat was pointing out that 3 rupees short, specifically our tracker, IrritablePenguin, pointing out, he was 3 rupees short of being able to buy bombs and then Zora. But it is, a bit strange because Kaesden now, even though he is still short on money, if he had decided to, Houlihan would be able to fake flipper and go straight up to Zora and have the money to do so.
Yeah, we'll have to see how these pays off. Kaesden did find Quake in Mini Moldorm Cave as well as Blue Mail, which is a nice early safety to have. Only having 3-4 hearts early on in the game, it's nice to get those mail upgrades while you're waiting for those hearts to come in. And gonna get a check of Ice Rod Cave here. So far, neither route has been incredibly beneficial. It's not like we found boots in Mini Moldorm Cave or anything, or flute. Because those are kind of the things that I would think would be huge. Put off Kakariko if you could find flute first. Well, that's a trip to CAC that you don't have to do, but no luck today.
No, and even that early bottle from the dam didn't bring anything up from Sick Kid. I believe it was just a piece of heart, if I remember correctly.
And Kaesden going straight to the Dark World. We have Hammer, we have Gloves, we have Moon Pearl. It happened so fast, we didn't even notice. But Kaesden is going to go right into Hype Cave. I do like this play because you can do Hype Cave, Stumpy, and Dig Game all before the village. Again, you're just increasing the chances. These are things you're going to check anyway. You could find the flute on this route, and that, or the mirror, or the mitts, and all of those things make routing Kakariko and the Dark Village a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder if on Floyd's side, if he's deciding, you know what, I'm going to check CAC because there's so much and hope for a bit more safeties. He does find the bow inside the Kakariko well, so that is a big find. When he does get to the Dark World, he can go straight to Pod.
Yeah, and Eastern being a red crystal, that's something we're going to definitely head towards. It'll be interesting what Kaesden finds on this route. As Hype Cave, like it is so often, not very hype, Kaesden might find something that, again, my biggest thing would be the mirror, because if Kaesden then goes to the village, finds the mirror, Kaesden can do Pod and Eastern together, where Floyd, now having that bow, might opt to go to Eastern pretty quick, but is going to go to the Dark World. Probably check Thieves Town. You have a sword, you have a hammer, you can beat it, but it is a pendant.
This is true, and honestly, dipping Thieves Town when it's a pendant is kind of gross. You never know if there's going to be anything actually useful, really truly in there, as we find Stumpy with the red rang. Let's see, and on Floyd's side, he is making bank from the treasure chest game, so kind of making that early Houlihan play a little bit unnecessary.
Yeah, that one's still getting me, but it's not the worst time loss in the world. Floyd, I would imagine, is going to check the front four here. You do have everything to beat Thieves Town. I would imagine if they find 2 items in the front here, Floyd will take a Death Warp and go do the route down to Hype Cave. However, if they find none or 1, I would not be surprised to see Floyd do all of Thieves.
This is true, and Digging Game turning out to be complete bust for Kaesden, so I imagine we'll see him heading and finally doing his Kakariko checks, and then more than likely heading, straight up into the Village of Outcasts.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if anything's here. Doing the route that Kaesden does, it's becoming a little bit more common. By doing Hype Cave into Stumpy into Dig Game, you remove those temptations to go south out of Kakariko Village or Dark Village once you get there, which incentivizes you to go up and check those Skull Woods checks, which are sometimes a little bit out of the way or feel like a time loss. So we haven't seen anything in Dark Village yet. It'll be interesting if we do here in Thieves Town, as Floyd is going to take that death. But if there's nothing in the village, you can now go up to Skull Woods and everything in that area is done.
Except for Moth himself, because, Fire Rod. But, that's... I am fully in support of that. Early Hype Cave, although I do a little bit, a little thing weird with early Hype Cave. If I do have Hammer, I prefer actually to kind of go weird and go into Pyramid Ledge and Catfish or Pod. But I think it all depends on what you have available. Kaesden doesn't have the bow, so going left made a lot more sense.
Yeah, after finding the bow here, it'll be interesting if they decide to go over just to that eastern area, or if they also decide to go to Dark Village. It's a tough call, but eastern is your crystal. It's nice to route it with Pod, but it's not the end of the world if you can't.
So then here's my question for you. Do you opt to go into Dark World and go to Pod first and hope that in the 5 chests there you find a mirror and then can go straight to Eastern? Or do you decide to do Eastern first and then go down and hammer at the Flute 5 spot to Pod?
Me personally, I'm probably going to go and do Pod first. Just because you can unlock it, you could full clear it, and then you never have to worry about going back. And then if you do find the flute or something in Pod, it's really easy to flute to Eastern, just use the gloves and walk right up there. Pod, no matter what, is going to take a long time to walk there, so you're going to have to do that walk. You do have bow and hammer and lamp. You have everything you need for Pod to be a place of interest. So I would not be surprised to see them bail and just go check Pod immediately and leave the Dark Village until later, when maybe they have fewer checks, or say the mitts and the mirror for Smith Chain as well.
Oh, I agree with that completely. And it looks like Floyd is opting to not go to Stumpy and Dig Game. He'll probably save that for a little bit later, maybe to route in with the Smith Chain, as you were just mentioning. He's going to go over to that Pod area. So it'll be fun to find or see what he finds in there.
Oh, and I do believe we saw red mail on the race game. I don't think either of these runners will be grabbing that, but maybe later if you have a mirror for Floyd and you haven't done the dig game yet and you can just mirror and do race game real quick, that might be something we see.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, remind me, where did Kaesden, because, in the 18 minutes or so that we've been commentating, there's been so many items. Where did Kaesden find and pick up his blue mail?
I believe the blue mail and Quake were both in Mini Moldorm Cave.
Okay, that's right. I could not remember exactly. Kaesden, instead of going to Pod, it looks like he's going to go to Eastern first and check the back of Saha's closet while here. Routing both of these in together, you've got 6 checks, so mathematically speaking, this is actually probably a better play as far as odds go.
Well, also good to check Sahasrah's Closet just because it's lower in the logic in terms of where items can be placed. So the seed has given us a lot already as we see Floyd heading over to the Bowlock side. So yeah, I could see why you want to do Eastern Pod first. You're thinking maybe they have a higher chance of having progression, but at the same time, we've gotten a lot of items so far. At this point, I mean, the only way this makes a difference is if Floyd finds the mirror. Otherwise, they're both going to be doing these checks, and it's not that big of a time difference.
You know, though, I like for our sake as commentators that they are giving us a bit of divergence, even though it's kind of, you know, dark world, light world versions of each other at the moment.
Yeah, chat bringing up very unorthodox routes. It's true, but again, this is their second time playing, and Floyd and Kaesden are both fully aware of how well the other player executes. So they might be taking some early risks and gambles that they may not take against a player that they think is going to do just a standard route, hoping that it pays off for them.
Let's see, and so far from the front of pod, we have found just the big key. So there is potentially one more item here in the front. So I will be curious to see if Floyd decides to check the vanilla big key chest, or if he just plans to get the bridge and go. Does look like he is going to go ahead and bomb in and go that way and grab all three here. And finding the mirror in the vanilla big key chest, so Floyd is going to be able to just mirror straight over to Eastern Palace, and that will make his routing of this really, really nice.
Yeah, that, like I said earlier, the only way that this play was a big deal is if Floyd found the mirror. Well, Floyd found that mirror, and that's going to make routing Eastern real nice for Floyd. And when Kaesden finds that mirror, gonna hope that Floyd didn't do pod first.
Yeah, unfortunately, as far as timing goes, this is going to put Kaesden just a little bit behind. But, you know, as you mentioned earlier, these runners are both really great at executing. Any route differences later on could really make this a big decision, could swing it the other way, could also just make it make the lead further apart. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, as you see, Kaesden taking some damage. Big key is in the vanilla location, so both runners are going to have to do that. Kaesden not losing any time by going the long way around Palace of Darkness. Also finding the cape, or Eastern Palace, sorry. Also finding the cape on Floyd's side. You know, we still have a lot of items left to check and left to find, but early on, finding that mirror, if Kaesden doesn't head to pod right after this, it could be a real big problem. I don't think they'll put it off because it's a crystal and they can clear it, but we'll have to see because that mirror makes routing a lot of things real nice.
No, this is absolutely true. And if, you know, by some chance, I haven't been counting items on Kaesden's side, but if by some chance the hook shot happens to be over here, you know, being able to really quickly after Pod and Eastern route in the graveyard checks would be helpful. You know, it is a little inconvenient without the mitts, but I mean, inconvenient versus being able to actually, you know, get Graveyard Ledge out of your mind. Let's see, it looks like Kaesden did get a really nice Armos quick kill. You know, he is very, very comfortable with NMG play, and so getting little quick kills like that, not, you know, not a surprise.
And I like this play from Kaesden. Instead of doing anything, just run down to that portal and run right back. Yeah, it's a little bit slower. Yeah, you're going to feel bad about the mirror, but since you are right here, really good move to not save and quit here, and instead run down to this Dark World portal since you have the hammer and the gloves, and do that. And once we get that mirror, I would expect, whether they find the hookshot or not, both runners to head up to Death Mountain. You can beat Tower of Hera, that's a crystal. You have the mirror to check the whole right side of the mountain. So I would not be shocked to see, after this pod Eastern play, both runners head right up that mountain.
I did not even think about the mountain when I was talking about hookshot and things earlier. So yeah, that's a way better decision than what garbage I was spewing out.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying, Kaesden has put in a pretty good amount of practice on NMG runs. So going into dungeons low percent like this with a fighter sword, having to maybe use bow strats or things like that on Helmasaur, not going to scare Kaesden at all. Is used to NMG fights. Usually you at least have the Master Sword for that. So he's going to be pretty comfortable here in pod having blue mail and I think 8 hearts.
Oh, absolutely. Although, it's one of the things that he mentioned that he was really looking to work on this tournament. He came in and one of his goal was to, learn the glitches and the dark rooms, and he feels like he accomplished that pretty well. The biggest things he still wanted to work on are low percent fights and routing choices, which, he's definitely going to get the opportunity to do some low percent fights, and he did last week against his match, or with his match against Windfox.
Floyd getting bullied by Helmasaur there, had to use 17 arrows and a red potion to get through that. Does kill Helmasaur, but it'll be interesting to see if that red potion that Floyd had to use comes into play later on at another difficult fight if this does turn into some kind of low percent seed. For the time being, Floyd's totally safe, has completed pod, so probably going to see Floyd mirror and go to Eastern now.
To answer a question in chat, if I were Kaesden and I find the mirror in pod after having already completed Eastern, I would personally feel behind, so I imagine Kaesden would probably feel very similarly. As SEJay mentioned before, you at that point you're hoping that your opponent did not go to pod first and went elsewhere.
Yeah, I think you're going to feel a little bit behind, but at the same time, you're going to just be happy that you found that mirror. It's not somewhere that you could have accessed now and you put off forever. You came to pod, you're going to find that mirror. So yeah, maybe you found the mirror a little bit behind your opponent, but if your opponent found it first, you at least have already cleared Eastern. That's not something you have to worry about going and doing. Yeah, it's a little bit slower, but you're on pace with your opponent, so you just have to find a way to get a small time save beyond that. And Kaesden doing here, actually something I really like to see, which is defeat the boss first if you get that big key.
And I often see Shareen doing this whenever watching his stream, so I would not be surprised if this is actually a Shareen call. Hey, you have the big key, you have everything you need, go do the boss first, and then we'll finish clearing it out after.
Yeah, and by doing the boss first here, especially because currently they don't have the mirror, the nice thing that happens out of that is once you find that 5th item, save and quit, and you're done with pod. You don't have to worry about getting your 5th item or your 4th item or searching through everything and then having to backtrack to the boss. You've already killed the boss, and you already know whether it has an item or not. So once you find all 5 items, you just leave. And that'll also save Kaesden some time here, as we see Floyd going through that Stalfos room, making his way towards the back to get his big key.
This is true, and while they are kind of walking in each other's footsteps for a moment here, I want to give a shout out real quick to our Restream team, if you will. Our Restreamer today is Lumaga. Our tracker today is IrritablePenguin. My co-commentator SEJay, who is killing it as usual. I am Laoria, and thanks to our hosts, also the Go Mode podcast. Find them wherever you can listen to podcasts now. on Kaesden side, already making decently quick work of this Helmasaur fight. Again, you mentioned, you know, that NMG practice, he's not going to be afraid of this. Has not taken any damage, is having to be a little bit wonky with arrows, but you know what? Takes him down pretty quickly, no big deal on his end. Did not even get bodied once.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a swag at the beginning there, using the Fighter Sword to do a spin to get a hit off. In the Dark World, Fighter Sword will not hit bosses, so you have to use spins to hit any of the bosses using a Fighter Sword. Did get one of those spins off, which reduces the amount of arrows that you have to shoot. Both runners having a little bit of difficulty with the arrows, but again, Kaesden didn't have to use that red potion where Floyd did, so we'll see if that comes into play later down the line. We're seeing Floyd make his way towards the back of Eastern, probably going to finish this chain a little bit ahead of Kaesden. I would expect sooner rather than later to see Floyd go and check that South Shore area, because they've put it off a decent length of time now, and I don't know how much more time-wise I would be comfortable leaving it.
Kaesden had a moment where he was headed for that vanilla BQ chest and realized, oh no, I don't have a key, so had to run over to the bridge to grab one really, really quickly, but I'm certain he will have feelings of some sort regarding that mirror.
Well, unfortunately, Floyd not getting the one cycle on those Igors there, so does have to take a 2. Not a huge time loss, but I think right now Floyd does have a small lead, and those little mistakes will ultimately, I think, decide this match. This is not a match that's going to be decided by a huge margin, in my opinion. I think that it's going to come down to who executes cleaner, as we see Floyd having some issue with that quick Armos.
Yeah, and with Kaesden's, you know, quick Armos kill, it's like you said, these little execution errors, over time, they can add up really quickly. Kaesden, you know, after jumping down, getting to use that mirror and head straight to the back now, you know, I'm certain, as you mentioned, he will be counting items like crazy to make sure that he is good to go.
Yeah, and it looks like Floyd is going to head over to Sahasrahla now. Good use of picking up a bomb. If you pick up that bomb, you can walk through a mirror, so very good showcasing of that ability that you can do and the little trickery you can do within the game.
I love that I'm not even able to participate in the tournament anymore, unfortunately getting knocked out, but I'm still able to learn just from watching, you know, runners continuing on, and it makes me happy because I did not know about using a bomb to walk through the mirror.
So we're still going to see Floyd put off that South Shore check. So Floyd heading up the mountain. Kaesden just has to check Dark Maze here. Once Kaesden's done with that, I would imagine we'll see a save and quit, unless Kaesden wants to go and do Pyramid, Catfish, and Zora. But it's kind of a tough call because you got those 3 checks versus the mountain. But if you want to be greedy and look for the mitts before you go up to the mountain, or maybe the flute, that may be a play you could consider.
This is true, and I do wonder also, you know, I'm not 100% certain how safe Kaesden would be with Splash Delete, but he is right on Floyd's heels. He's heading straight up the mountain, I would assume, and will more than likely route in Pyramid Ledge and Catfish later on, potentially with the big bomb. If
Floyd's got to be careful here. Those cabbages like to hit you down to 1 heart.
It's funny how that gentleman from Avatar: The Last Airbender gets so angry that he just decides to throw his cabbages from the top of the mountain, trying to hurt unsuspecting rando runners.
Those are some big cabbages, too. I think that those will hurt a lot more than 1 heart on me, as we see a fire rod.
Yeah, and that's definitely something you want to grab. What will be a bit of a bummer for Floyd is, with having only one heart left, he is not going to be able to attempt this bomb jump to try and skip back over, but he will get some fairies to, help him up with the climb again. Words are hard, guys.
Kaesden having full health does get hit by cabbage. It doesn't matter what your armor level is; those cabbages hit you for 1 heart of health. Kaesden taking 1 hit from the cabbages, also going to find that fire rod. We'll see if he attempts that bomb jump. I'm not sure if he's aware of it or knows how to do it, as Floyd is just being bullied by these Moldorms. We have to remember, too, Floyd's still on green mail, because Floyd has not done mini Moldorm Cave or did not get the mail out of chess game. Or, sorry, race game. That's the right game right there.
Yeah, I imagine we'll also see him going straight into Hera here shortly. You have your fire sources. No hook shot, unfortunately, to be able to do Hera pot, so we won't be seeing that. As we do see an attempt to make the Spectacle Rock Cave bomb jump on Kaesden's side.
Yeah, and with those lineups, it does look like he's practiced it. We'll see if he pulls it off. And he does beautifully. That is a huge, well, not a huge, but a pretty good time save if you consider that he just has to now mirror and is right behind Floyd, and the Tower of Hera still has that whole South Shore check ahead. I think right now Kaesden's looking pretty good in terms of where he's at. We'll have to see any other route divergence that happens, but for the time being, I would imagine these runners kind of stay on path with one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do find only the small key.
Oh, no.
Oh, getting dead rocked. Ugh, these guys are the worst.
Well, good thing he bomb jumped, because dead rocks like to dead rock.
Salty Goron descendants.
Yeah, unfortunately, no hookshot here, so no Hera pot for either of these runners. Both of them going to go down, take a coffee break. I was actually a little bit interested if Kaesden was going to just bail out of Hera at that point and go check the rest of the mountain, because there's always that possibility that you could find hookshot over there and then come back and not worry about the basement, but just going to do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have blamed him for, I wouldn't have blamed either of them for deciding to nope out of Hera and check, Spiral Cave and Paradox Cave first. But at this point, if you're seeing it like that and you figure you've made similar checks to your opponent, then you know that, doing the basement right now, they're going to probably have to do it too. So you're not going to end up very, very behind by doing it. The chance of the hookshot being over on East Death Mountain is there, but if you're trying to get through the crystals that you can and check everything you can along the way, it's a good call, as we find the mitts in the, I believe that's the vanilla compass chest.
Yeah, and that's going to be huge for both runners, because now you can check Spiral Cave and Paradox Cave, as well as check Super Bunny Cave. Again, no hookshot, as Floyd does opt to do the vanilla strats to go to the big chest, and I'm pretty sure we'll see Kaesden do a bomb jump here, so that's another little bit of a time save. But yeah, you can go and check Super Bunny, if nothing else. With the boots, we could check one chest in hookshot, but if we find that hookshot over on that side of Death Mountain, that's going to be really big.
Another point to mention too, and it may not save a significant amount of time, but Floyd opting to hit the safety switch, being on green mail to pick up some hearts before coming up to face Moldorm. Whereas Kaesden, with that blue mail, he's going to feel a little bit more comfortable deciding to skip hitting it, as Moldorm is bullying Floyd just a little bit here.
Yeah, I think everybody knows that Moldorm can be your best friend and your worst friend, sometimes in the same seed. And unfortunately, Floyd getting a poke there with the sword instead of hammer hits. So Floyd opting to do some NMG strats here, and has to be careful, because that's 6 hits and you will hit that enraged mode.
Yeah, at this point, I think we're going to see him just go ahead and use poke strats. Ooh, almost getting knocked into the center hole, but just managing to kind of finagle his way out of it, as Moldorm is, I believe, one hit from being enraged on Floyd's side, as Kaesden takes him down and pulls a bit ahead using those hammer strats.
Yeah, this one is an unfortunate Moldorm fight. And again, here we're at this point. And I don't know, I like this play of using the cape here, but if you're going to use the cape, you're going to get your magic back. Use it a little bit earlier. You know, down to 1 heart again. Really risky play. Not having that potion does get Moldorm down. So we keep seeing Floyd skirt right on the edge of something terrible happening, but just getting away with it with 1 heart. And for now, doing just fine. Going to be right behind Kaesden, but Kaesden has pulled ahead, which, again, remember, Kaesden has also done the South Shore checks and getting a little bit bullied by these dead rocks.
Podcast episode request. Not most damage enemies, but just worst enemies. Just worst.
And it's happening to Floyd too.
I think we just agree it's these guys. They are just the worst. As we see Floyd deciding to go ahead and open Turtle Rock, this isn't a bad play. He's going to be able to mirror and check not only the Turtle Rock entrance, but still mirror and do this. Can't quite open it as it will require Quake, and we know that that's down a mini Moldorm cave.
Yeah, that could be really big. I would not be surprised to see Kaesden jump into Turtle Rock when they get up there and see that it's Quake. You don't have a lot of checks left in the map that you really want to do. You can bomb jump here across Paradox Cave. You have the mirror, so you can delete this block. And then you can go into Turtle Rock, especially finding that Master Sword in Super Bunny Cave. I think that that's definitely going to entice Shareen and Kaesden to go over to Turtle Rock.
Kaesden, I think, was trying to maybe do a little bit of bomb swag strats. Place and throw the bomb before before mirror deleting the block. Didn't quite get it, but it was fun to see the attempt.
As Kaesden is checking out Mountain Hype Cave, and so far it is also boring. Never mind.
And immediately from extra boring to pretty dang hype, finding the hook shot. So unfortunately, what that could mean, though, Kaesden might be thinking, oh no, what if Floyd came over here first and got the hook shot? He would have been able to Harapot and skip the basement, knowing that the big key or the big chest did not have a key or did not have an item. It had the map.
Yeah, and at the same point or same time, Floyd gonna have to go get that hookshot, then go back to the Dark World to check Hookshot Cave. So a little bit of unfortunate routing for Floyd that gonna have to go back. I think that mirror portal is still up at the top here, so if Floyd's able to pull off that bomb jump, it'll be just fine. But yeah, Kaesden gonna get his Master Sword, go and check Hookshot Cave, and I get the feeling we're gonna see Turtle Rock.
As Kaesden is picking up his Master Sword, I agree. How many times, jokingly, of course, but how many times have we actually seen Ice Rod be in the Turtle Rock vicinity, whether it's inside Turtle Rock or in Mimic Cave? I would not be surprised if Kaesden just goes ahead and goes into Turtle Rock and says, you know what, Ice Rod may be in here. Let's see if we find it.
And both runners having issues with that Paradox Cave bomb jump. Floyd going to go up and do it again, where Kaesden just said, I'll go up through Super Bunny Cave. Finding a blue potion there, also going to be nice to have. It's one of those things where I see a lot of people not want to dive Turtle Rock until they have Ice Rod. But then, in my opinion, all you're saying is, Trinex has my progression. The rest of Turtle Rock doesn't matter. But we're still looking for Ice Rod and Flippers. We're still looking for a couple of different things. if you can go into Turtle Rock here, that's 5 checks. And then when you come back a second time, you can just run straight to the boss, or maybe you can save your portal, go check a couple of non-mirror locations, find an Ice Rod, and come back. Or, the unspeakable, Ice Rod is just in Turtle Rock.
You know, you bring up a good point, because we still are looking for quite a few items. We're definitely looking for flippers to get through Swamp and to logically get to Ice Palace. We're still looking for the flute to be able to get to the Mire area. Potentially also still looking for the Ether Medallion, depending on what opens up Mire. So I think that we're going to find something here in Turtle Rock. Whether it's the Ice Rod or the flippers or the flute, I believe we're going to find something in here.
Yeah, and Floyd now going to be a little bummed out that he left South Shore as long as he did, because Floyd is going to find that Ether Medallion, and at that point, you've got so many mirror checks that you can do that it almost makes it not worth it to go back up to the mountain right now. You know, you can check Cave 45, and you can check a bunch of other things. You can do Graveyard Ledge, you got the Fire Rod to go and check Skull Woods. It's just not as clean. It doesn't feel as nice to go back up to Turtle Rock, which is why I highly recommend, if you have Fire Rod and Hammer and Mitts and Cane, just do it the first time, because if there's something in there, it's going to be huge if your opponent didn't have access to it the first time up the mountain.
Absolutely. At this point, I would not be surprised if we see Floyd opt to, you know, wait out Turtle Rock until he finds the Ice Rod, or until it's his last option. Like you said, there's a bunch of mirror checks that can happen. If he happens to find the boots, you know, that's even more. As we find the shovel on Kaesden's side, would you like to do a fetch quest?
Who's ready for a Turtle Rock fetch quest? I think that sounds exactly like a game that chat would love to play.
Let's see, how can we make this the worst possible? Shovel into mushroom, into magic powder, into book, into Ice Rod?
Ice Rod specifically on Ether.
Ooh, Ether or Bombos?
Well, Ice Rod would be probably worse to be on Bombos. But we're still looking for flippers, so like flippers up in Ether, and then Ice Rod in Swamp Palace, so that there's an unnecessary trip up the mountain. That sounds evil.
And now that we've said it, it won't happen. You're welcome, chat.
And Kaesden opting to use that red potion. They did find a blue potion in that hookshot cave, and it does look like Floyd is going to show us what is going on in the Zora area. So like I said, Floyd has to hope that there's nothing in Turtle Rock here, because by finding that Ether or that Quake Medallion after going up to the mountain, you don't want to go back up there just for Turtle Rock. You want to find other things to do. So we might see Floyd do Zora and do Ice, and it looks like we're going to see an Ice Palace check here out of logic.
You know, I don't disagree with this. He might be hoping that he finds the flute or the Ice Rod while in here. We know that he's not going to find the flippers because they are logically required to get here. But he still could find something that would potentially lead him back up to Turtle Rock, which so far hasn't really provided us much of anything. To answer a question in chat, although people did already answer, Floyd is playing the sprite that is Will from Illusion of Gaia, and Kaesden is playing Dark Link, I believe. You know, this is kind of their preferred sprites that they play most of the time. Kaesden does sometimes swap in Robo Link.
Yeah, we see Kaesden take that long path to refill on magic. Wanting to have a full magic bar for this room is not a terrible idea, just because you don't have half magic. Your Master Sword doesn't do a ton of damage here. So, I don't hate that. We are going to see Floyd set up Icebreakers. So, that is a new minor glitch, relatively new to the Rando racing, that cuts out a lot of Ice Palace and makes it a lot more enjoyable.
This is true. While on Kaesden's side, he's getting ready to check his oh-so-favorite check.
And it's a Kaesden seed, so there has to be something here.
A very well done icebreaker on Floyd's side as we find a big 20.
Oh, man. Not today. Nothing in Mimic Cave today, so no hype for that. We don't see anything in Ice Palace yet, but Floyd going to make pretty quick work of this dungeon after pulling off that icebreaker. You do have Bombos, you do have Fire Rod, and that blue potion that you had earlier, so Floyd should have no issues going through this dungeon pretty quickly. And we see a small key on the big chest, so we're approaching laser bridge territory. We do have a cape for safety.
And you know, that's something I'm not certain of, is Kaesden's comfort with the laser skips bootsless. You know, boots versus non-boots is a whole different game when it comes to them. So I'll be curious to see what he does, or if he just opts to say, you know what, let's just use the cape. Have cape, we'll use.
Yeah, so far Turtle Rock not giving us much of anything here. I would take the safety door, if I'm being perfectly honest. You know, I'm okay at laser skips with a cape. I mean, you can fall off the edge and get the first chest for free using the iframes, and then you have cape. You can avoid the other ones, but I'm lazy, and I like my safety doors.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, if you do that, then you can just, from wherever you're at in Laser Bridge, mirror if you really want to be lazy, and then, you know, go right outside, mirror, and, well, you wouldn't even need to mirror, but you could save and quit and do whatever you need to do, because we don't have the flute.
All right, we've got a map. We're going to need at least one small key here. There it is. We've got 2 more checks on Laser Bridge as Kaesden runs out of magic.
On Floyd's side, in, I believe, the Freezor room, he found the Ether Medallion. So at this point, no matter what, when we find the flute, Meyer will be available to our runners.
Kaesden opting to use a second red potion over a blue potion here. Just needs that 4th chest. And it's nothing.
That's really unfortunate, but you know what? I still don't disagree with his play to have checked it. You're up here, you have entry, you have everything you need minus Ice Rod. Go in, look, hope you find some progression in the 5 items that are there. I believe there is 1 item left on Trinex, but you know, unfortunately, we won't be able to get that until we find that Ice Rod.
And Kaesden going to Link's house, then saving and quitting. Back to Sanctuary, clearly having some discussion there with Shareen about what they're going to do. Might go to Dark Village. You can check Bumper Cave. You can check Graveyard Ledge. You can check Smith Chain with the mirror now. So there's a lot of options available there to you.
Well, on Floyd's side, you know, trying to bring down that last puff after getting the first 2 really quickly with the Fire Rod. I believe he used his blue potion to refill his magic to be able to take them down, but he does get the crystal. That is his 3rd crystal, as Kaesden is going into, it looks like the Skull Woods area.
Yeah, and I don't hate this play. You were given Fire Rod, and it gave you nothing in Turtle Rock. So let's go check where else is Fire Rod locked. And I would do Skull Woods here from back to front, and then route it over into Bumper Ledge, into Graveyard Ledge, and then go do the Smith Chain and check that shovel spot along the way. It's a super clean route. You get everything cleared along the way. It's very thorough, and since you know nothing's in Turtle Rock, you don't even have that weighing on the back of your mind. You can just fully, very thoroughly, and efficiently clear from Skull Woods all the way down to Purple Chest.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to be seeing just that. Kaesden picking up a little bit of magic to be able to use that Samaria block and avoid pushing the statue. Gonna get this full magic refill here in the side as well.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of, if you're doing back to front, to pause at this middle room, because if you get a small key there, that can make the back of Skull Woods a little bit easier, as we see Floyd potentially jumping down and doing Smith Chain. Interesting. Kaesden's opting to just do the front of Skull Woods. So they're not going to go and defeat Moth right now.
You know, this is interesting because, as you mentioned, you know, you didn't find anything Fire Rod locked in Turtle Rock, excuse me. This front area isn't Fire Rod locked. So if you're going to find progression that's, you know, blocked by the Fire Rod, it would be in the back. I'm really curious with this play as well.
Floyd is going to see the armor up here. We'll see if he opts to grab it or not. At this point, you're at 11 hearts and blue mail. May not be worth it, but you are right here. You can just run into the race game and then run right back and take your portal. You can jump down. It's not a terrible play to do for safety.
No, I'll be curious to see if he decides to mirror at the beginning of the race game just to go ahead and grab it just from right here. As on Kaesden's side, so far we have found neither item, I don't think, from Skull Woods. Just keys and dungeon items, which means both items are in the back.
I think we're going to get a... Nope, we looked at the big key chest too. Yeah. That's a tough call. There, you can see kind of that pause there. They were discussing it. I think they're going to go and do this chain. And if this chain brings up nothing for them to pursue, then they'll come back and do it last. You know, it does feel a little bit bad to go and do Pendant Skull Woods when you can't get all the value out of it. So maybe waiting for that book to want to go back there so they can at least check Pedestal to see if it's necessary.
To see if it's necessary and to see if the Seed Roller joins us in the band club.
Yeah, because right now it's looking like I think any of our needed items could be on that pedestal. Ice Rod could be there, Flute could be there, Flippers could be there. So any of those, I believe, can be, can be there.
They could, except for Flippers were in Hammer Pegs. Floyd just picked them up.
Oh, that's a nice find for Floyd. That puts that Ice Palace play in logic, as well as opens up Swamp Palace, which is a good continuation of this Smith chain here. And I would imagine we're going to see Kaesden right behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, with that, being that, you know, Kaesden already had to dip all of Turtle Rock, he'll be able to get through Turtle Rock relatively quick the next time he goes through it, whereas Floyd may or may not be full clearing it, depending on what we are still trying to find. You know, I think we may have seen just a little bit of a lead shift again, just because of the Skull Woods play and the fake flipper to Ice Palace, but it's hard to say still.
Yeah, really hard to say who's got the lead here. You know, Floyd does have that Ice Palace advantage, but Kaesden has cleared out Turtle Rock, so can just run straight to the boss when he does have to go back. And the nice thing for Kaesden is he knows I don't need to touch Turtle Rock again until I'm in go mode and going to Ganon's Tower. Or at least with the Ice Rod, you would hope that you find everything and then the Ice Rod lasts for that case. Because there's no other reason to go there. Where Floyd, it might be weighing on Floyd's mind, oh, we could have gotten that medallion super early, and Floyd may dive Turtle Rock in a kind of inconvenient time.
Let's see, I missed the first time what was on K45, but it looks like it was just a 10 arrow bundle, so nothing of any kind of substance right now. Kaesden, you know, clearing out Village of Outcasts. I imagine we'll see him more than likely dip front 4 of Thieves Town also, before beginning Smith Chain.
Yeah, and at this point, when you have fewer places to check like this, I would not be surprised to see Kaesden full clear Thieves Town here with only one item in the front, because you have significantly fewer checks to do. Yeah, you got Smith Chain, but then what after that? They don't know yet that the flippers are at Hammer Pegs. So we'll have to see if they opt to take that mirror out or if they opt to do this whole dungeon.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier on, about how, you know, Pendant Thieves is, especially red or blue Pendant Thieves, is just such an awkward duck. Like, it's not something that you really want to have to go into, but it's easy, it's decently quick. It's just a matter of when do you decide enough is enough with it. And with one item in the front, Floyd opted out, but if Kaesden goes back and does find Flute or Ice Rod back here, it'll be huge.
Yeah, we're seeing Floyd now dive into Swamp like we expected. Not surprised here. We'll have to see if Floyd opts to do left side Swamp. It kind of depends on what items you find going forward there. We have been talking kind of throughout these races that it seems like skipping left side Swamp has been costing racers more than it's been helping them.
Yeah, I cannot remember exactly what the time difference is between skipping it and coming back in just for it, or routing it in and finding nothing. But you're still looking for at least 2 items. Although, another sword, silvers, any of that would help. I would be surprised to see Floyd skip left side Swamp at this point, with what you're still trying to find.
Yeah, you're still looking for 3 items. I don't think you're in the business of skipping checks here. And Kaesden is going to the back of Thieves. I was thinking maybe with that Turtle Rock play not paying off for him that they may choose to not gamble on this, but we'll have to see. I mean, it's kind of a bummer for Kaesden's side because it feels like they've been doing everything right. Like their whole route feels really clean and all their decisions seem super, well thought out. It's just not paying off. There's been no items in any of these routes that they've taken.
No, and it is disappointing. We also saw him trying to bomb the ceiling there and getting kind of bullied by the grasshoppers, crickets, whatnot. It does look like we are going to see Floyd, opt to do left side. I imagine, runners of this level, I imagine we're going to see some diver down here. He is pulling out the bombs, I'm assuming, to bomb the switch. So, and flooding the key, of course, as well. That's kind of a big sign.
Yeah, probably doing bomb setup, but could also do Cane of Samaria setup. Bomb setup is a little bit more difficult, a little bit tighter window. You actually kind of want to wait as he does pull out that Cane of Samaria. If you're doing bomb setup, or really just diver down in general, you sometimes want to wait until that fire snake bounces off of that skull. Sometimes he'll still sneak by, but every now and then you'll get a bounce off that skull, and it'll make that a little bit easier. As we do have to check the big chest in Thieves Town as well over on Kaesden's side. Still not really finding anything.
No, and at this point, if you're Kaesden, you're hoping to find, or you're hoping that blind has progression so that Floyd has to come through and do all of this as well. And for Floyd, it might be a little bit before he gets back there because it's so out of the way. Already dipped the front. Why feel the need to go back for the back 3 items?
Yeah, we're gonna get our first check on left side Swamp. It is a map that never feels good. And a piece of heart. Nothing on the left side Swamp today, so if Kaesden does skip that, it is not going to hurt him. As we see him get through phase 2 of the blind script pretty cleanly, and Floyd is going to make his way to the back of Swamp.
A relatively clean blind fight. Let's see what he finds. What does he have today? Just 300 rupees. So unfortunately, Pendant Thieves Town not turning anything up. As you mentioned before, I'm certain we're going to see him go straight into Smith Chain. He's going to grab those flippers, and then it'll be a guess of does he go Swamp first or Ice Palace, but I imagine we're going to see him do both in fairly quick succession.
Yeah, it's just a little bit unfortunate, for Kaesden's side. While he's clearing things out and getting checks done, Floyd's getting crystals, doing Ice Palace and getting the crystal there. That, is helpful. And now we find silvers in Swamp, so both runners probably going to find that. It's just Floyd's gambles have been paying off a little bit more. Not doing Turtle Rock or not having that medallion for Turtle Rock was a bit of a bummer, but there was nothing in there. Obviously, Floyd doesn't know that, but I think also finding Ether and Ice Rod. Wow, Swamp has everything.
Yeah, so now at this point, we're going to see Floyd go straight at the mountain. He's going to full clear Turtle Rock looking for that flute, but he will be only a flute away from go mode at that point. You know, if Trinex has the flute, that'll be it.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see Kaesden go Swamp Palace, find those items, still finish off Ice, and then go right back to Turtle Rock and look for what's on Trinex after that. Because you just kind of have to start to wonder, where could that flute be? You know, we've seen a lot of checks here. I still don't think we've seen the Zora area, so I would not be surprised either to see Kaesden go and check that after Ice Palace before going up to the mountain.
I think I could be wrong, but I think that Floyd fake flippered and checked. I know he checked Hobo, but you might be right. I could be just thinking of watching other seeds earlier today because, yeah.
Yeah, Floyd went from Hobo into Ice Palace, so I still don't think we've seen a Zora check.
Yeah, chat bringing up a good point. Instead of going straight up to Turtle Rock, you know, checking the big bomb right here after Swamp, since you're already in the Dark World, Argus just having a big 20, so Flute could easily be there. But, you know, hilariously enough, it could also be like several other Go Mode podcast races have been. We could find Flute on the ped.
Here comes that Turtle Rock shovel check. It's just 3 bombs.
Ugh, secretly hoping for a vanilla flute and it didn't pay off.
Yeah, and here I would not be surprised for Shareen to suggest for them to skip left side. I also would not be surprised if they did it. I think both plays here are completely valid. If you're feeling behind, I think you skip left side Swamp. And since Kaesden has done Turtle Rock to no avail and Thieves Town to no avail, I would not be surprised to see them skip it here because they maybe feel a little bit behind based off of the route that they've done so far.
This is true, and if I were them, you know, seeing that ice rod in there, you know, that might kind of be a little bit of confirmation of, okay, maybe left side wasn't needed because here's our next little bit of progression.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I know a lot of people like to do left side Swamp if they don't find the big key, because then when they dive back into the big chest, they can do it then anyway. We are going to see a check of the pyramid here.
Let's see, Pyramid Fairy having nothing for us except for bees. It looks like Pyramid Ledge was just 3 bombs, so not panning out for Floyd today, but you know, let's see what Catfish has.
Yeah, and I like this play. You can do Pyramid Fairy, you can do Catfish, you can do Zora area now. You can get all of it cleared out and done. We might see Floyd go up to the mountain after this. It depends. If you find Flute, you definitely are just going to go mode Turtle Rock. If you find like Book, you're probably going to go up to Turtle Rock so you can check Ether along the way as well. So we'll have to see what's up in this area. Could be something that makes a huge difference, or could be nothing at all.
Am I a terrible person for hoping for another fetch quest?
You know, if I found the book at the end of this chain, there would be a big part of me that would want on Kaesden's side, if they do this chain right after Floyd, to go right back to Skull Woods and check what was on pedestal and do Skull Woods area. Because if it's not the book, it probably is going to be the flute, you know, or something like that. we'll just have to see. You know, it's still one of those races where we're now in flute go mode. So once these racers are able to find that flute, we'll have a pretty good idea over who is having or who has the biggest lead. Right now, it does look like Floyd does have an advantage.
Let's see, as Floyd's making his way through the Zora area and Kaesden is making his way through Swamp, let's see if he decides to go left. It looks like he's going to skip left side and go straight to the back. Um, just want to give an update of what you might be seeing if you just joined us. We are in round 2 of the Gold Sword brackets. Seed number 2 Floyd versus seed number 7 Kaesden, a rematch of week 3 of Swiss brackets. Both of our runners ended Swiss 5-1, and this is their best of 1 to see who makes it to, I believe, the quarterfinals, as we find Tempered Sword on the Zora ledge, so that's nice.
Yeah, having Tempered Sword and Silvers, you're not really concerned about the rest of this run at all when it comes to Ganon, as it does look like we're going to now see Floyd go up and do that Turtle Rock play, so we'll see how long this takes. Kaesden, I would imagine, is going to clear Ice Palace in with these checks somehow. We'll have to see how he does it, though, because the way this is kind of routed, it almost would have been better to do Ice Palace into Swamp, just so that you can do the whole chain after that. But Kaesden also seeing that Ice Rod, so we'll see. You know, there's always a chance that that flute could be on Trinex. There's still a chance the flute could be in Desert or on Skullwoods back, or in the Skullwoods back area. Could also be on Pedestal.
Absolutely. And, at this point, it feels like every item that we've found so far, unlocked some other progression except for that Fire Rod. So Trinex or Skullwoods feels right at this point. It's just a matter of which one it ends up being, and it's kind of going to be a race to get there. So, except for neither, because it's on Spike Cave. So at 1 hour 11 minutes, Floyd has entered go mode.
Yeah, we are now in go mode on Floyd's side. How quick is Kaesden going to make his way up there? Does have the Ice Rod to go and do that. Does have the Flippers to go and do Ice Palace as well. I would imagine on Kaesden's next trip up, they're going to check that Spike Cave, which I'm a little surprised. Well, I mean, with Diving Turtle Rock, I'm not as surprised that they left it. But that one's going to bite, knowing that they chose to dive Turtle Rock instead of Spike Cave, and Turtle Rock had nothing, and Spike Cave had your go mode.
When you think about it, Turtle Rock is obviously the better option because, you've got one item versus 4 to 5, depending on how the items are laid out. So, you can't be upset for having made that decision. It's just, unfortunately, today, Kaesden ended up getting a bit randoed.
Chat asking if Kaesden could have checked it. Yeah, there's a way that you could have checked Spike Cave, but it's not very clean. You would go after Tower of Hera, maybe, and go and check it then, and then save and quit back to Old Man, and then go do the right side of the mountain into Turtle Rock. I don't think very many people would do that, because it's kind of slow to check it that way. I don't know. It's a tough call.
It honestly could be too, early on, I do not think that Kaesden had a whole lot of health. I think it was 8 hearts blue mail, which spikes will do 1 heart of damage no matter what. And then Cape just drains magic so quickly that it could have also been a situation of, I might not have the resources to be able to do this. He did have red potions. He could have, opted to use those to get himself through. But if you have the option of trying to use a bunch of safeties to mingle your way through Spike Cave, or go into Turtle Rock and have 5 chances to potentially find this item, I still think that you're going to make the play of more items versus, hey, let me use a bunch of things.
And we're seeing Kaesden now follow in Floyd's footsteps, going to go do that Catfish Zora area as Floyd is into Misery Mire. So at this point, the only thing Kaesden has is that he's cleared Turtle Rock. I would say, looking right now, Floyd has a pretty significant lead because Kaesden still has to go and find that flute, still has to do Ice Palace, and still has to do Misery Mire.
Yeah, at this point, it's going to be a little bit more than Ganon's Tower routing to make the difference. You know, this is going to be a difference of, you know, a Ganon fall, even possibly, you know, you hate to see it, but an Aga 2 death or anything like that. You know, this is going to be a decent... something drastic will have to happen, unfortunately, for Kaesden to be able to really pull ahead.
Yeah, and as we get a God Mire, the big key is in the spike room, so Mire's going to go by pretty quick. The nice thing is that it's very likely that Kaesden will go up to the Turtle Rock area. I don't know if they'll dive Ice Palace here. It'd be big for Kaesden to go up and check that Spike Cave chest now, because then Kaesden could also go mode Ice Palace where Floyd had to full clear it. Another area with a little bit of time saved, as Floyd is having a little bit of issues getting that block down, but does end up getting it.
I did not see if he set up Spooky Glitch, but the way he was trying to push the block as opposed to re-put it down makes me think that he did set it up and did not want to have to, you know,
Floyd
reuse.
Didn't need to do that.
No, he sure did not.
Whenever you get a Godmire, it's very important to remember that you don't have to set up that first Spooky, because the pegs are already in the right direction.
Right, and not everybody in chat may know this. You know, the traditional way of doing the Spooky Glitch is to use the boots to, quote, kick up some dust, aka you press A to start a dash and then place the Samaria block. But as long as you can make a number of basically like mini sprites on screen, it will allow for the Spooky Glitch to happen. So you could use Fire Rod, you could use Ice Rod, you could use Silver Arrows, Sword Beams also work.
No, and we're going to see Kaesden go and do Ice Palace. This is a little bit unfortunate because they are not going to go mode Ice Palace. I don't hate this route. You can leave Zora area, take that portal, and go straight into Ice, but at this rate, we know nothing's in Ice, and full clearing it is just going to take more time as Floyd is ready to go up to Turtle Rock.
Absolutely, and with Tempered and Silver Arrows, I highly doubt we're going to see Floyd full clear this. He will more than likely skip Lava Bridge. Lava Chest. He'll skip the big chest more than likely, skip Mimic Cave, and potentially, depending on how he decides to check the Laser Bridge chest, you know, he may potentially be leaving 2 there.
Yeah, this is just one of those seeds where it was whoever found the flute first, and Floyd found it in that Spike Cave. You know, Kaesden spent time in Thieves Town and in Turtle Rock, and if it had been in either of those locations, it would have been big, but this is what Rando is kind of about, is there's an element of luck to it, there's an element of chance, and at the end of the day, sometimes it just comes down to who checks that one location first.
Yeah, getting randoed is kind of an unfortunate way to potentially lose a match. I do want to point out, just because I think it's such a cool thing to watch, Kaesden in the Pengator room had gotten the 2 bomb set up to take them down, as Floyd is getting dead rocked now, unfortunately, on his way up to Turtle Rock.
It'll be interesting to see Floyd's route here, because I believe the big key was in Chain Chomp room. And so I think based off the key layout, you can steal a key, grab a key off Laser Bridge, and not have to check Big Chest at all.
Yeah, and honestly, that's what I expect we'll see from him. You know, you've got Tempered, you've got Silvers, you've got a Cape. and you have all 4 bottles, there isn't really anything else that Floyd could be asking for except for maybe half magic or boots and maybe powder. Which actually brings up a point. You know, there is a 1 in 22 chance that Floyd is not in go mode.
Oh, don't even start with that. I did that once, and it was about a Kana Samaria locked GT, and it turned into quite the grind. Kaesden, just going to the boss. Good job tracking there. They must know that there's nothing else really of value here. And I would not be surprised if they feel like, you know, since that go mode item is anywhere, they need to rush through bosses and try to catch up. We'll have to see. You know, the play is go up to Spike Cave. If Kaesden goes up to Spike Cave and then finds that flute, this is going to be a lot closer than, you know, it looked just a couple minutes ago because Kaesden was able to skip all that rest of Ice Palace there. So we'll have to see what Kaesden's next move is, because if it's going there, there's still a chance, you know, with GT routing and some of the craziness that can happen there, that something could happen. Otherwise, Floyd is in Turtle Rock, only needs to beat Turtle Rock, then go to GT. Pretty solid lead that Floyd has right now.
Yeah, this is true. I will say this, no matter what ends up happening here, our runners have put on a well-executed and a well, you know, like a fun race to watch. So no matter what happens here, give our runners a follow, and their mentors as well, ApathyDuck and Shareen. You know, this is the last week with mentors, and so, you know, our mentors have volunteered time and time again to be able to help a lot of us newbies out, and it's been really, really wonderful to be able to work with them. Floyd having a little bit of issue trying to get that pokey dead, but he does end up stealing that key. Kaesden saving and quitting and going to the mountain, so it looks like we might be getting that Spike Cave play after all. This is only going to be good for Kaesden.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he's going up to Spike Cave or if he's going right over to Turtle Rock. It does look like they're heading up. This is going to be pretty big for them. Again, Floyd still does have a pretty comfy lead. Gonna be probably done with Turtle Rock before Kaesden even gets into Mire, or right as Kaesden gets into Mire. So we'll still have a pretty comfortable lead, but definitely Kaesden will feel better about this, finding the flute here. Gonna be kind of upset because, you know, it's one of those seeds where I feel like I've agreed with a lot of the routing decisions that have happened, but it's a seed where you didn't have to dip any pendants. There was nothing required in any of them. And so all that time you spend in pendant dungeons just feels like time you shouldn't have done, even though in other seeds it would have been, you know, huge. So hopefully doesn't get too beat up about that. Again, race isn't over yet, but Floyd does have a pretty significant lead as we're seeing him go through the Turtle Rock Dark Room. Chat talking about there's still that boots out option. We will be seeing that shortly if boots are actually required for this seed.
This is true, and, you know, get ready, chat, because when Floyd gets his 7th crystal, we have a little bit of a game that we like to play. I like games. Do you like games, SEJay?
I do like games.
I know that your chat is filled with games, but, you know, this is a very, very particular game that we like to play, where we try to guess where it is, it being the GT Big Key. We'll get to that in just a minute, as Floyd is checking his laser bridge checks from the bottom up, so he will leave one item, which we know to be, I believe, the map.
Oh, and Floyd taking a decent amount of damage from those lasers. At this point, you got to be careful. Yeah, it does take a death there. With one heart, those lasers, they're not nice. Even on blue mail, they're not very nice.
No, they are not. But, you know, taking that safety door is absolutely a great thing. The biggest thing about these lasers is you want to try and get the laser skip as much as you can. And if you're going to get hit, you want to get hit somewhere in between the two railings so you don't get knocked up or down off the side if all possible.
And Floyd saying, I'm sick of waiting, I'm just going to use my potion.
Even though I find the small key, still checking that last chest. I guess possibly looking for gold sword or any of the other safeties we mentioned before.
Floyd has tempered, shouldn't be a problem here. Does have to be a little careful. I don't think Floyd has any more magic refill potions, so between Turtle Rock and the rest of GT, we'll have to be careful about his magic consumption, as we're going to see Kaesden find his big key really quickly here and head straight back to Vitreous. Ooh, and Floyd doesn't get the paws off before killing that head, so just does have to wait for the animation before he can switch over.
Which unfortunately also puts the ice on the floor and makes this, you know, second part of the Trinex fight a little bit more annoying to deal with. He is almost out of magic, only one more shot, so really has to line this up. Does get it lined up, does take down the blue head, and will be killing the major big snake Trinex thing. Wow, yeah, him.
And Floyd doing a very nice job of finishing off Trinex. So go ahead and get your guesses ready. Wait for the start to happen in chat. We will play a little game. Laoria, do you want to continue to explain what that little game is?
There are 22 chests in the front of Ganon's tower. Pick a number 1 through 22, and if the big key is there, you win points.
What's your favorite number to guess?
Well, my favorite number kind of also alludes to who my mentor was during this tournament, SEJay. My mentor throughout the tournament was Dr. Bobtastic, and I have always been a fan of Bob's chest. So in the traditional routing where you do Hope Room and then full left from there, it is chest number 14.
That's pretty close to mine. I'm a big fan of picking 13 for these, so we'll have to see where it's at. We'll see if it's, what would it be, 1, 3, or 7, depending on the routing for Bob's Torch, as Kaesden does finish off Biddy. So about a quick run through Turtle Rock behind is Kaesden. A little longer than that. So we're going to see Floyd start right side. So here comes chest 1 and 2.
I imagine we have lots of chat hoping beyond all hope that there is a big key at number 3, the torch. Let's find out.
There is a key there, but it's the wrong size. It is just a small key. So boots are not required for this seed.
They are not. But you know what? What will be interesting to see, you know, we've been seeing small execution errors out of Floyd kind of throughout. So bootsless GT climb can be really frustrating. Never mind, because there they are.
Yeah, we don't need to worry about that anymore. My biggest thing for Floyd right now is I don't know if Floyd has any more blue potions. You have to be very careful with your magic, including on Ganon himself. I think Floyd does have a red potion for Ganon, which should help. But, you know, having silvers, obviously huge. Getting the torch glitch, not as big of a deal with silvers, but does have to be kind of careful keeping an eye on his magic throughout this GT climb.
Yeah, and I do believe that Kaesden still has his blue potion. I don't think he used it at all. So, you know, there will be that little edge there.
Yeah, and we'll see Kaesden take about, what is it, like minute and a half, 2 minutes maybe to run all the way down to Trinex. Which, again, this is the downside of diving that Turtle Rock play early without the Ice Rod is if the Ice Rod isn't there, you're running the risk that your opponent's going to find it first. So, yeah, I just think it's been a pretty clean run. I don't disagree with a lot of the decisions by either runner. It's just the route that Floyd and Apathy took paid off.
Yeah, it's literally just been decisions about where to go as we come up to chests, I believe 10 through 13. Find the book in chest 11. And so far, nothing. Man, my 14's looking pretty good.
You know, that still puts Tile Room in play, and it's not completely ruled out yet. You know, last week, Kaesden did have an agreement with his opponent Windfox to do a meme and do Tile Room first. I do wonder if, when the stakes are on like this, if he's willing to commit to that for 2 weeks in a row.
You know, I definitely think it'll all depend. I think that if it comes down to it, the risk may be worth it. But at this point, I would be surprised. You know, we're still only an hour 30 in. The seed has been decently generous, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see, you know, skipping Tile Room.
All right, we're going to go down to Ice Armos here. As we see Kaesden making his way through Turtle Rock Dark Room, we'll be heading into Trinex shortly, and then we'll be following Floyd into GT. You know, it's one of those plays where GT routing could make a big difference here. If the small key is not here and it is right side, there is a possibility Kaesden could do Dark Magician strats to go right side, but we'll see if any of that matters based off of these three chests here.
We are finding just all the safeties on the way there, though, and it does look like right side is the play. So if Kaesden opts to do full right, or I'm sorry, Dark Magician, because there was no key on in Hope Room, if he opts to do Dark Magician strats, this could help him catch up quite a bit.
And I know Shareen is a fan of Dark Magician strats, so we'll see what that conversation looks like. I also know that Kaesden has talked to me a little bit about you know, Kaesden's had Kern as a mentor a lot, and there was discussion about if it's worth it to do Hope Room into Tile Room to try to find that key to go full right. And apparently there were some stats that said it might be worth it. I don't know how much I agree with any of that. But yeah, I think Kaesden going right side here could be a big play if that's a route they end up taking in GT. We'll have to see.
Floyd running out of magic on the first Samaria throw, but luckily getting a full magic refill from a Gyarados as we get to Compass Room and find 300, the big key in chest number 20, I believe.
That is chest number 20. So smart move by Floyd here. Grab this small key and yeah, start to climb the tower as Kaesden is on his heels. We'll have to see. If Kaesden goes right side, this is going to be a lot closer than it looks right now, but Kaesden's pretty steadfast in the standard kind of GT route of just go left and don't look back. Or start Hope Room, then go left and don't look back.
You know, at this point, like I said, we do hope to see him go Dark Magician, because that will help him catch up very significantly. You know, it could come down to some GT execution. The only unfortunate thing, no, correct, what I was about to say was incorrect, because boots were in Dark Magician room. So forget what I was about to say.
Yeah, doing Dark Magician, but it does look like Kaesden is going to go right. So probably going to stick to the standard route. Unfortunately, not going to gain any time here unless for some reason does opt to do Tile Room and try to find a small key in there. And congratulations to our winner. I missed, one second, I'll find who that was.
It was one of our mods, Oro, a big volunteer and I believe potentially admin of the tournament. I can't remember. He just helps out with so many things. Was our winner, who maintains his lead in the points with now a total of 80.
Oh, it looks like you're in second place there. Is there any spite or any anger about Oro winning yet another GT Big Key guessing game?
Rigged. Just kidding.
Well, guess we'll never know how you feel after that coughing fit, as we do see Floyd. As we do see Floyd heading up, gonna grab the safety ferry, going into Landmos 2 with a pretty comfortable lead. Kaesden going right side, not gonna mirror out and go left at all. So Floyd, pending something like a Ganon fall, which is unlikely with racers at this level, looks to have this in the bag. And yeah, overall, good race by both the runners. It just, Kaesden's route was a little more thorough with dungeons. Floyd got to that Spike Cave chest first without wanting to double dip into Thieves Town or go check Skull Woods, and just paid off for him. That's pretty much the difference in this run, is that alone.
Yeah, and again, it's been an incredibly well-run race. Definitely give these guys a follow. And I want to thank again our awesome Restream crew, Lumaga on restreaming, and IrritablePenguin on tracking, as well as my co-commentator SEJay. It's really nice to have an awesome team working together to make these restreams happen. And y'all are just awesome people, and I appreciate every one of you.
I think the same appreciation goes back to you. All of us are doing this here for fun. Hopefully everybody's having a fun night. This has been a good match. We see Floyd going upstairs now, heading towards Moldorm 2 as Kaesden is going to fight Ice Armos and then finally go right to find his big key into Ganon's tower. Yeah, plenty of good matches coming at you this week too, by the way. As we go through these rooms, see Floyd, not really anything exciting coming up until Moldorm, but go ahead and check out the Discord. We got tons of matches. Tons of them are being restreamed from all different brackets across the tournament. So make sure that you check out the Discord and check out the schedule, because a lot of fun matches happening this week, and these are all best of one matches. So unfortunately, whoever loses in their matches this week, this is the end of their mentor tournament.
Floyd, go ahead and opening the mini Moldorm chest. I'm sorry, not mini, big Moldorm chest, and getting a big 20, which, if I remember correctly, is actually what the vanilla game gives you as well.
I believe you are correct on that, and we're going to see Aga 2 here. One of the probably, a nice triple, one of the easier boss fights in terms of death rate, but kind of one of the more annoying bosses to try to do quickly. Sometimes these clones of Aga just do not behave.
But getting a 3-2-1 on that Aga play, it is time for Floyd to follow the bat and fight the big pig. On Kaesden's side, he's about to pick up that big key. Gonna go ahead and looks like he's going to mirror with that small key instead of grabbing another one from the right side teleport room under the skull. So he's just going to climb with the one and kill the mini Helmasaur later.
Yeah, and an interesting thing about those keys, in the restream earlier, I heard Walter say, and I did not know this, and I don't know if I'm repeating it correctly. So, chat, tell me if I'm wrong. But I believe Walter was saying that in both Rando room and Compass room, if you find a small key, the big key will be there as well. Or if you find the big key, there will be a small key. There's some combination of that. And so if you find a big key in those chests and you're short on small keys, I think it's always worth it to go and check those extra chests around there, as Floyd is down to 2 hearts.
I know in my match last week against Fred, aka Durf, that's something that Dr. Poptastic actually mentioned. We had gotten a small key in Compass Room, and he immediately said, "You're going to find the big key in here," as soon as he saw that. And he had mentioned the same thing, but he mentioned only Compass Room. I did not know that Rando Room was the same.
Yeah, we're on to phase 4 with Floyd. It does look like Floyd is going to be finishing up this Ganon fight, pending a fall to Ganon. A lot of teleports, though. He's kind of not wanting to stand still.
It's as though he knows the end is nigh, and he wants to prolong it as much as he can. Not getting the torch glitch, but getting a nice double there. As Floyd takes down the big pig, he will walk through the door. Hopefully, we don't want to fall. And it looks like Floyd will have finished with a race time GG time of 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 27 seconds. Get your GGs in chat.
Yeah, big GG's to Floyd. We'll see if we can get Floyd and Apathy in for an interview. Kaesden also climbing the mountain was only at, was it Muldorm or Landmos too? So pretty close behind, all things considered. It looked like Kaesden was a pretty hefty chunk behind. This is going to end up being 5-ish minutes, which is kind of just a couple of those Turtle Rock and Pendant Dungeon plays that they made throughout the seed. So I would say execution, both runners on par.
Yeah, absolutely. This was going to be a race from the get-go, but they have really made it a very, very close one. Kaesden running out of magic, but able to get that small magic refill from the bottom torch. With those boots, he's going to rush through as best he can, I think. Let's see if he makes it just in time.
And he is able to squeeze through that door there at the end.
Yeah, Kaesden is really doing very, very well on this climb, I would say. You know, even with the potentially running out of magic there for a moment, you know, he wanted to conserve any potions he may have and is really doing his best to try and finish the seed strong, which is awesome. A really nice Smoldorm too. Let's see if he decides to steal from the chest as well. And leaving Moldorm to his lunch money. Good guy, Kaesden.
And we're now joined by Floyd and ApathyDuck. GG's to both of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
That was another fun one.
So I'd say one of the big plays that happened this seed kind of early on was you guys actually not going to South Shore and finding Quake Kaesden did find that quake, and so they dove Turtle Rock the first time they were up there, and it was barren. There was nothing in that Turtle Rock.
I called that. I said the best thing for us to be in here would be Quake.
Yeah.
And he just pulls it out. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. No, that surprisingly worked well. Yeah, we did like a 45-minute Moldorm check.
So much stuff being early. Just wanted to get in Dark World, and we had like the Eastern stuff, but we didn't know what Village of Outcasts was, so we just went in. A little we were nervous going in parts, but just ended up doing pod. Got lucky with the mirror there, and yeah, kind of worked out.
Yeah. We actually skipped a spike cave. We were supposed to do that our first trip up, and I forgot.
Yeah, about 10 minutes later, I was like, oh, right. And then we were debating whether or not to fit. I wanted to go straight to TR. And then my thing was to do Spike Cave after, and he just went straight in. And I was like, well, I guess this is fine. But like, it's just basically a one-off check. And then he pulled flute. I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah, and that flute find ended up being really the real decider here. You know, it was a race to see who found it first, and deciding to go into Spike Cave instead of dipping TR was absolutely the correct play to make.
Yeah.
It worked out, but I mean, the correct time would have been like, I think it's objectively incorrect to not do it after Hookshot Cave, but it was just like I was looking ahead, and it's one of those things that like I'm just so automatically used to doing it that I forgot to be like, hey, you go to Spike Cave, and then yeah, just got lucky.
Yeah, and Kaesden didn't check it either, but they dove into Turtle Rock, so it's a little bit uglier routing that way. But yeah, you guys found that flute. Didn't have to do any of the pendant dungeons. You did the front of Thieves Town, but outside of that, were you worried at all going back up to the mountain? I mean, you had Ice Rod to do Turtle Rock. That was clearly your plan. But were you worried that anything was in Thieves Town after only finding one item in the front?
Not really worried. It was certainly on our mind, but we figured, you know, clear out the crystals because you're gonna do those anyways. And then, I mean, if we didn't find it in Spike or TR, then yeah, it probably would have been a Thieves Skull Woods. We never did Agina, we never did Ice Cave, so it would have been cleanup at that point.
I do want to interrupt really quickly to just let everybody know Kaesden finishing off his Ganon fight, going to finish with a race time GG time of 1 hour, 46 minutes, and 5 seconds. So a little under 6 minutes difference between them. Get your GGs in chat for Kaesden as well.
Yeah, we'll try to get them in here as well for an interview. I do have a question. What was your plan with your route at the beginning? Because not just you, both of you took very bizarre routes. Yours being the Houlihan play right off the bat.
Yeah, the idea was we got the Moon Pearl and the 300, I think, in the back of Escape. And so it was we'll do Houlihan and we can route in all of Zora at one time. And then we saved and quit, headed down to Dam, and forgot, oh, we need bombs.
Yeah, it was another one in my mind. I was like, if I was just playing, it was like, well, obviously you do Hylia and buy the bombs. I just forgot to say anything.
So that actually might have saved us, because if we had the bombs, we would have done Mini Mordorm and been able to get into TR early.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I would have thought about doing the TR dip. I knew Shareen was going to do it. I was like, there's no way he's not doing this.
Speaking of Shareen, we are joined by him and Kaesden in the chat. GG, guys.
Yeah, GG, Kaesden.
So when you guys entered, we were discussing the opening routes after doing your Sanctuary Escape. You both did really random routes together. You know, you opting to go and buy bombs, and then I believe going to oh goodness, now
South
I cannot
Shore.
remember.
Went to South Shore first.
You went to South Shore, but you bought your bombs at the Hylia Island, whereas Floyd did not buy bombs and went and we were discussing how finding that quake in Mini Moldorm Cave kind of made the difference between them dipping Turtle Rock their first trip up the mountain.
That was in Mini Moldorm Cave? We were discussing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we couldn't remember where we found it. We were
Yeah,
trying
Quake
to
was
think if it
Mini
was somewhere
Moldorm.
good or not.
So you guys did Spike Cave early then? Because you couldn't get
No.
TR?
Nope.
No, we should have, but we didn't.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but they didn't do the early TR dip. I'm sure that's what it was.
We got punished for every decision we made, basically.
We were
Yeah,
talking
we
about
made
that.
several gambles and nothing panned out. So
Yeah, Kaesden and Shareen, you guys went to Skull Woods and it had nothing. You went to Thievestown and it had nothing. You did Turtle Rock and it had nothing. Floyd did the front of Thievestown, but outside of that, Floyd just kind of stuck to the crystals. Fake flippered into ice and cleared all of that out. And then shortly after, found the flippers at Hammer Pegs and over into Swamps. So unfortunately, it was just all of those locations that you guys jumped into were just empty.
We were gonna fake flipper into ice. It was on our mind when we were on the mountain, but one, we opted to go into TR because at that point, you've done all of Dark Death Mountain. We got our hook shot. You're never coming back. So at that point, our play was TR, fake flipper ice, or pendant outcasts. So like you can't really justify leaving TR. You know, if the flute flippers or ice route are in there, you don't lose any time at all. And you know, and so the reason we didn't fake flipper into ice was because we had no magic after Laser Bridge. So we didn't want to sip a potion and just go fake flipper. We were just like, okay, we need the flippers anyway. Let's go to village, and then we just did the village wrong. So.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, for you doing Skull Woods and Thievestown and Turtle Rock only being 6 minutes behind, pretty good.
Kaesden played like a gamer. That Spec Rock bomb jump. Oh man.
It's a funny story. I asked Floyd if he could do it, and he sassed me, and he was like, "I'm not with one heart. I can't." I'm like, you know what?
Oh god.
I mean, you could still do it. You're just not going to survive on the other side.
Yeah, that brings us to another thing. Floyd, pretty early on, you had a couple of flirts with disaster there. You had a couple of fights where you got down to one heart. Cutting it close there, did that make you nervous at all, or did you feel fine the whole time?
Yeah, I mean, to make this cool. No, it felt a little nerve-wracking. That hair of Moldorm was horrible for me. I just couldn't get that to work. But
Oh boy.
And you know, for a good bit there, especially with that mountain climb, you guys were kind of neck and neck with each other. You know, Kaesden and Shareen, you guys opted to do Sahasrara and Eastern first, and then finding that mirror in
Sure.
Pod, whereas Floyd and Apathy decided to do Pod first.
Of course. Ugh.
So it was interesting though, because you know, with that play, they were able to route the whole eastern area a little bit smoother than you guys. But because of the struggle that Floyd was having on Moldorm and Hera, you guys caught up and ended up kind of neck and neck for a little bit, Kaesden passing a little bit, and then y'all diverged from there, and it was all kinds of crazy.
I think the biggest thing is that the open.
did you guys go over to?
Yeah.
Oh, did you guys go over to Ice and Agina's cave?
We didn't do Agina's at all the whole
Yeah,
scene.
never did
Nope.
Agina's, did nothing in desert area. Didn't check anything in Mire, just got the God
Yeah,
Mire
'cause
and
that-
that was that.
Agino. Yeah, Agino was on my mind.
Yeah, we were actually
Times. I'm
thinking about checking
flutes or
it
boot
right
or something
after.
important's in there.
We were thinking about checking it after either before or after Swamp when we were doing the Smith chain. But we just didn't do it. We just went straight into Swamp.
Right. Yeah, that would
Because
make
Pyramid
sense.
Fairy
And
was
then-
right there.
Yeah,
so
we
we just opted.
Yeah, Pyramid Fairy's right
Yep.
there. We felt behind too, so we skipped left side Swamp. Fortunately, that didn't come back to bite. So I think that was like the one good decision
Yeah.
we made that paid off. But everything else, just nothing would pay off.
Yeah, that's a good 2-3 minutes that you guys got then. It explains the gap a little bit more.
Yeah. So did you guys get a bomb and escape? I'm assuming you did.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Did you not?
Yeah, we got a single.
It all started with not getting a bomb and escape, so we decided after Lost Woods we were gonna go back to escape. And when we found Pearl, $300 and a sword, it's like, let's go South Shore. And then when we got to CAC afterwards and we got our bow after already doing Hype Cave and stuff, it's like, well, now there's no point in going Hype Cave to Pod, so let's do Eastern, Saha, and then after Eastern go into the portal. And like then we got the mirror, and it's like, okay, well that doesn't feel good either.
That's
And then-
funny.
Yeah, it's just one thing after another. Just
And then
kept biting.
the hook shot after Hera, which I was talking about leaving Hera for later, and like, you know, of course, you have to do Hera basement, and then you get the hook shot right after.
Yeah, it's funny because we were talking about the prize packs earlier, and like when we found all that stuff, I was like, "Well, that's good, we got it." But of course, Shareen 100% got it because we were literally talking about prize packs earlier. So there's no way he missed it. So that's
Well, we didn't miss it. We just had awful drop rates. We killed probably a dozen rats.
Oh,
and only
yeah,
got
yeah, that's-
two items, and then as soon as we got up to the next room, the first rat we killed dropped the bomb.
Yeah.
It's like, no, come on.
We killed the top right corner of rats and got two prizes deep into the pool. In the next room, we didn't get any, and then in the final room, we ended up getting 2. But there was only like 2 rats left, and we still needed to hit the 50-50 twice. So we just opted to like go upstairs, and then we hit the 50-50 twice right after going upstairs. So
yeah, that's really unfortunate. Yeah, we hit like because Floyd just
we
kinda
found the gloves
some
pretty
Mario
quick,
block.
though. And
that's a tough prize
we
pack
found the
to hit.
gloves pretty quick and just save and quit and went back of escape first chance we got. So it wasn't too bad, but it definitely lost, 30 seconds or a minute or whatever.
Well,
That's
GG's to both of you. I'm all out of questions. That was a fun seed to watch. GG's to Floyd. Better luck next time, Kaesden. Both of you did a really good run, and I'll pass over to Laoria for any final thoughts that she has.
Yeah, I think, you were talking about your gambles, Kaesden, and something that SEJay and I were discussing was like, we didn't disagree with really any of y'all's decisions. It's just that the items just weren't there. And, when you rewatch the VOD, because I'm certain that you more than likely will, I think you'll kind of see that. You'll see, like, this is what, should have happened, and then it just didn't because Rando, And overall, like, this was a really, really entertaining race to watch. And, as my buddy and my teammate, like, I feel for you right now. Trust me. But, like, you both are incredible racers. This is a great race to watch all together. Floyd, good luck as you enter, I believe, quarterfinals next week.
Yep.
Semis.
Yep.
Semis.
Or is it
This is
semis?
quarterfinal this week.
Just
Semis. Yeah,
kidding.
semi. Yep.
Congratulations
Yeah.
to both of you guys for making quarterfinals. Good luck, Floyd, next week in semifinals as we start our best of 3s. And you will face the winner of, I don't remember which race.
Oh, I don't remember.
The winner of
I don't know.
Fred, aka Durf, versus Krithel. So we'll see.
Oh, that'll be a fun. Those guys are good.
Yeah, it will definitely be close, but I'm certain that it will be a great series to watch. And, we wish you the best of luck. Kaesden, all of the luck to you as well in ladder and NMG, keeping that world record on race time. And
That's going away soon, I'm sure.
and all of the other good things. One final shout out to my Restream team with us, Lumaga on restreaming, IrritablePenguin on tracking, SEJay commentating with me. And another shout out to our runners and mentors. Do you guys have anything you want to leave us with?
No, just thanks guys for hosting and putting this tournament on. It's been real fun. GG Kaesden. It was nice getting the rematch against you. That was just fun to do and go back and forth on.
Yeah, the rematch was definitely fun. And echoed the same thing, thanks to all the restreamers and comms, trackers, everyone behind the scenes that puts the tournament on. It's a lot of work, and appreciate it happening because it's been a ton of fun, and I've learned a lot.
Yeah, I just want to point out I'm 2-1 against Shareen. So
I just want to point out that Apathy can't route a seed himself, but apparently as a mentor, he's just a gamer.
fair.
You know,
Fair point.
skip mini Moldorm Cave, go to Dark Death Mountain. You know, the plays come out.
To be fair, it was not my idea to go into Spike Cave first, so there you go.
Yeah, Apathy's a good mentor. It's been fun mentoring against him a few times. And yeah, the runners too. I've mentored Floyd and Kaesden. They both have made a lot of improvements in the tourney, and I think all the runners have. So yeah.
Yeah, this was fun. Thanks for having me.
Well, GG again to all of you guys. Another big thank you to our hosts, the Go Mode Podcast. I believe a new episode is coming out tonight, so you can check that where podcasts are available. You know, lots of places, as well as at their website. You know, this has been a really, really fun race to watch, to commentate. So thank you again to everybody for stopping by. I have been Laoria.
And I'm SEJay, I guess. Is that what we're doing? I'm so lost. I'm lost in my own mind. Don't worry about me. I'm just gonna hide over here in the corner now.
No, it's okay. I think you were just thrown off by bonking and all kinds of clapping and things.
I do need to get the practice ROM up and bonk a couple times before I do my next match, that's for sure.
All right. Well, with that, thank you everybody for stopping by, and have a